Mark Draper with Andrew Clifford, as Chief Investment Officer from Platinum Asset Management. Andrew, global question, well, it's a local question with a global consequence. Aussies love investing in banks here in Australia, but things are changing in the financial world, particularly with some of the big players, whether it be PayPal or Google, particularly with relation to the payment system. To what extent do you think those sort of companies and the changing of the payment system is a threat to Australian banks and banks in general?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. There's clearly huge potential or requirement for online payments, and PayPal is the sort of the most well-known of these. And if you think about what PayPal really does, I mean, most people who transact with it still use their credit card behind it. So it's really an electronic wallet. And at that moment, what it is really an additional layer on the payment system at the moment. So the traditional players like the credit card issuers, the banks here or the merchant banks, really aren't threatened by it for the moment. Visa and MasterCard still have their place as the authoriser of transactions. But it's very clear that companies like PayPal want more than that. They want to become the payment system. And it's quite a complex area and hard to see quite how they're doing it, but clearly in markets like the US they're effectively becoming a card issuer themselves. They've gone into an arrangement with Discover, who are in the US have a similar position to Visa and MasterCard, although just within the US market. So that's quite interesting, but there are other things going on as well. So there are other payment wallets, so like PayPal
and Apple computers, I think.
Well, Apple effectively have a sort of a position there. So anyone who's transacted in an Apple store, as I did the other day, effectively you give them your iTunes identity, and off they go, and they'll be trying to expand on that. And we certainly have in places like China, Alipay and Tenpay, which are the payment wallets of Alibaba and Tencent, who are big internet companies. So there's a lot going on, but other things in the payment systems are in Africa we have the mobile phone companies becoming payment mechanisms where literally you SMS payment from one person to another, and that is settled out in simple terms through your bank account, through your phone account. And we have people moving into internet payment systems, competing with the transfer, the Western Unions of the world, where you're transferring money internationally. But when you do look at it, the position of the established players here, the Visa and MasterCards and the banks, it is very strong. But the sheer size of profits there just means there's an enormous effort going in to try and crack it. But as yet, no one's really seems to have done that yet. At the moment, we're all fighting around the edges of it. So for the moment, they're probably reasonably safe until someone comes up with the way to break into that market.
And the final question on that is, from an investor's perspective, what would you be looking for as a signpost that would say someone has cracked this and is going to make a lot of money and attack the share of the card companies and the banks?
Well, look, I think that probably the greatest threat probably is within the telecom companies. So, the Telstras, at the moment, where these telco payment systems work in a place like Africa will be because you have one telco that has 90% of the market. So, but at the moment the system will break down. So if I'm with Telstra and you're with Optus, there isn't that interchange between Telstra and Optus for me to make a payment to you. But clearly there's a big market there, and they're the guys. I think if you saw some kind of agreement, at a national and an international level for payments to move between telcos, and that there will people tell you that those companies really just aren't set up for that. But there's certainly a very big economic incentive there. So they're the guys I'd be watching.
Andrew, thanks for the insight and thanks for your time.
Yeah, thank you.